Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Conscious Life Expo. Hasn't it been amazing this far? Incredible. You know, my name is Deborah Giusti. I've come to every single Conscious Life Expo, and I wouldn't miss it. This is really my mystery school of this day and age in LA. So I know you're here for that reason. And I just want to honor Sherry Tenpenny, because she was going to be here, but she, like a couple other speakers, decided it wasn't in their best interest to come to LA. But the lemonade is, we've got Brad Olsen. And yeah, if you know Brad, he's been on the scene for a long, long time. Deep mission to explore ancient history, ancient symbolization, and structures. He's gone all over the world to see firsthand what's going on, to study these symbolisms, to study the structures and see what's behind it and come and share it with us. Is his passion, as well as he's an author of 10 books, and he's a conference leader and does many, many other things. And when he heard that there might be some openings, he came forward and volunteered and flew down from San Francisco, and we're so happy to have him. So I want to welcome Brad Olsen. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you all for coming. Yeah, this just came together in the last 2 weeks. I don't always pose as Sherry Tenpenny, but when I do, I'm at Conscious Life Expo. So,
You look great.
Yeah, trying to do my best. This is a presentation in support of 3 books I wrote on the esoteric subject. Esoteric just means information that has been withheld from all of us, but is known by a select few. And in the case I will present, we'll call that the cabal or deep state or the Illuminati or this control group that seems to have had an iron grip on planet Earth and what we're allowed to think and know for many, many centuries. It's multi-generational. But they show themselves. They show their hand. They basically will tell you what they're up to. And that is part of the reason this is going on in planet Earth, is we live on a free will planet. And in many ways, to do what they're doing, they have to show their hand. And so that's what this presentation is going to be all about. So let's just jump right in, and we'll start here with Plato's Cave. Plato's Cave is a concept devised by the philosopher Plato about 2,600 years ago to ruminate on the nature of belief versus knowledge. The allegory states that there exist prisoners chained together in a cave. Behind them, the prisoners are watching a fire. And between the fire and the prisoners are people carrying symbols. In the age of Plato, the image on the left, it's like a puppet show. But on the right, this is a modern version of Plato's Cave, it's the mass media doing the projections. And the people are absolutely mesmerized because that's all they know. If you have never been out of Plato's Cave and is all you've seen your whole life is the puppet show, then that's your reality. That's your world. That's the narrative that you abide by. But then one day, according to Plato's allegory of the cave, somebody escaped and they got above and they went outside and they saw the sun for the first time. And they couldn't believe it, that there was this whole other world out there. And so they came back in. This is all part of Plato's way of describing to the ancient Greeks how you can't always believe what you see. Because when they came back down and told the others, hey, we know this secret way out. Get out of here. We don't have to watch the puppet show anymore. We'll show you that there's a whole world out there. They didn't believe him. And that is the nature of cognitive dissonance. And this is the globalists, these people I'm going to be talking about, learned that the fear strategy ages ago used the mass media as a messaging platform for shaping the mass perception to their advantage. This is going to go deep, you guys. This is what I say when I did this at Contact in the Desert last summer, putting the intense back in intensive, because this is really how they're tricking us. This is how they do it. A mental conflict occurs when beliefs are contradicted by new information. The conflict activates areas of the brain involved in personal identity and emotional response to threats. The brain's alarm goes off when a person feels threatened on a deeply personal and emotional level, causing them to shut down. How many of us have tried to have logical explanations and those persons just shut down and you can't really get through to them at all? They disregard any rational evidence that contradicts what they previously regarded as truth. So it's kind of, if you've been paying into an insurance policy your whole life, and then somebody comes around and says, you've been tricked, you've been duped, you're never going to get a payout from this. There is no policy. You're just paying into nothing. You don't want to believe it, and you're probably going to keep paying into it. So let the cognitive dissonance flow through you, said the emperor. They love it when we fight each other and disagree. And the way they use this tool of division is the mass media. We're going to get into this in a couple different ways. But this is a really important study done by the KGB. They learned that if you bombard human subjects with fear messaging nonstop, in 2 months or less, most of the subject believe they're completely brainwashed to believe that false message, to the point that no amount of clear information they are shown to the contrary can even change their mind. Yeah.
That's a quick question. Do you, and if you're going to cover this, great, but do you have suggestions on how to get through to people? Or do you...
Yes, we do.
Okay, good.
How we're going to get through to people, and I'm a very optimistic, positive-minded person. We're going to see the shining lining at the end of this talk, so we will get there.
Thank you.
And but just to paint a picture of where we're at with all this, because our entire lives, we have lived in Plato's cave. I mean, they have really boxed us into this reality that they want us to believe. And I think all of us in this room, you wouldn't be here if you weren't, realize there's more to this reality than we're being told. And so I'm going to help sift through that. Also, keep in mind that in 1948, the Smith-Mundt Act, which was Truth in Media, was enacted. And that was truth in advertising, truth in media. You could not lie. It was illegal. You would be arrested. But lo and behold, in 2013, the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act and media. You like that? The inversion. That's a trick they play too. We'll talk about that. They can legally lie to you. They can legally lie to you in the mass media with the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act. And then you'll understand it really is all fake news. And of course, these actors are not journalists, not media. It hasn't been for a long time. Just like that Don Henley song, Dirty Laundry. You know, it could have been an actor, but I wound up here. You're reading a teleprompter. There's no journalism there. They're getting their talking points at 4 a.m. from the CIA. The fax machine would roll out at 4 a.m., and that would be the script for many years, many decades. And so this all goes back to the MK Ultra mind control programs. Did you know that the MK is spelled in German, K-R-O-N-T-O-L-L-E, because they came here with the paperclip Nazis after World War II. So there's a whole list of patents for MK Ultra. I always say that if you can't make sense of a story or doesn't make sense, well, if there's patents for it, that's probably what's going on. and a lot of them. I'll just read some of the highlights. Transmission of unit send modulated electromagnetic waves to beams into the human skull. This is called voice-to-skull technology. They actually have the technology to make us schizophrenic, so we think we're hearing voices. This might still happen with Project Bluebeam. I think I'm going to get to that in a little bit. More about auditory communication using radio frequency hearing effect. I mean, these are patents from the 90s, the middle 90s. Can you imagine what they have today? It's very advanced. And the lowest one here, 1974, apparatus and method for remotely monitoring and altering brain waves. So they really do want to be in control of the puppet show. So many of the greatest minds in history were initiates of these mystery schools. How many of you heard of the mystery schools of old, back in Roman and Greek times? Yeah, you guys are a sophisticated audience. Pericles, Plutarch, Buddha, Lao Tzu, Zoroaster, Plato, Socrates, Aristotle, Pythagoras, Herodotus, Hippocrates, Euclid, and Democritus are some of the most celebrated and often gifted thinkers we think of today. But these mystery schools, now called secret societies, really wanted to keep their knowledge hidden. This, again, is the essence of the word esoteric. Occult just means hidden. It has all been inverted because they're using it to their advantage. So people have seen through this, and occasionally when we all used to read newspapers, one can name in the United States government one major office holder after another, nearly all Council on Foreign Relations stooges, and practically all of them are descendants of the original Illuminati plotters. Some have assumed names, but all are dedicated to the same objective, tricking the American people into a one world empire. Okay, so they do have an end objective. They want to be unelected, technocratic rulers over all of us. And I think we can all see that they're trying and starting this process right now. This is kind of an extension on Sasha Stone's talk last night, as well as David Wolf's talk today, where they both saw through the pandemic, plandemic, scamdemic, whatever demic you want to call it, for this purpose of controlling us. Right? But if you know what you see, you can actually make your way out of it. So this is a funny little game I play, and I did it with Brandy, who asked me to speak here today. I said, do you know there's a little owl, kind of like the owl at Bohemian Grove on our $1 bill? Oh, yeah, it's there. If you look for it.
Yep.
There it is. And what the heck does all that Latin words mean? And you have the unfinished work, the unfinished pyramid with 13 levels. Of course, the seeing eye in the middle, that creepy thing see on our dollar bill. Annuit coptis novus ordem seclorum, translated from Latin, means a plot to undertake by oath a new world order. So you also have the Masons playing a big part in this, especially with the unfinished pyramid, symbolizing the great work of the Freemasons, the builders, and the manipulators. And then they can't help but throw their little Bohemian Grove owl in there too. And it's not just a $1 bill. They throw it in all this weird stuff. Like you can't get these notes, these $10,000 notes, but Hail Satan? What? Right up there.
Oh, wow. Seriously?
And then you flip, you can do things when you flip the coin, like George Washington's hair, you get Baphomet. Even, Secretary of Treasury Salmon Chase is the person featured on the $10,000 note. I mean, take notes or take pictures, anything you want. I'm totally transparent and open source on all my material. I love it when people do their own research and look into this stuff too. And I get a lot of people who always send me videos, photos, and a whole bunch of stuff. And I continue to build my own database. And then weird things when you fold the bills, right? I remember during 9/11, the one on the right, the $5 bill, there's the Twin Towers. $10 bill, then they get hit and they start smoking, burning, collapsing, a pile of rubble. Just the way you filled the bills, the same way, the back. And then this one came up recently. If you fold a $1 bill and join it together, you get that smiley face guy. Lizard person, yeah. It's just weird when you look into it, but there it is, hidden in plain sight this whole time. And I think they like it when we get tricked and fooled. And this is known as the revelation of the method. I'll talk about that in a sec. But symbols will be their downfall because they put this stuff out there. And it's like they can't even help themselves. But again, in this free will planet world, they have to. So there's your owl from Bohemian Grove. And videos have come out. I went there once, just to the gate, and they sent us away. But we saw the aquatic car drive by with the owl symbol on it. I've been to the Bohemian Club in San Francisco. And
Can you explain?
So Bohemian Club started in the 19th century, a very wealthy group of, now they have industrialists who will come to their summer gathering for about 2 weeks. Presidents, Henry Kissinger, a lot of the globalists go there. And the final night, or the big ceremony, is this, which they call the cremation of care. Who thinks this way? Like, you can do anything you want to the people, because we're going to cremate your care and make you so you're not compassionate to the plight of the people, many of which, through these politicians and globalists, are affecting our lives. But they don't care for you, because they went to the cremation of care. And then so you see the big owl in the Capitol building. Here's the eyes. Here's the body. Here's the tail. It's there if you see it. And then you get King Charles, his first official portrait with a little MK Ultra butterfly on his shoulder. I don't know if you caught that when this painting came out. You put the two paintings together and you get a Baphomet-like creature in there. Maybe a rope around his neck too. So these weird things. But this is what Sasha was talking about last night, that and David Wolf today too, that taxation is slavery. And ever since America was made a corporation in 1871, it has been your duty to pay your taxes. But there is no law that actually says you have to pay your taxes. Of course, they'll do a lot of things, come after you, dock your wages. Remember, they were going to hire all these thousands of new IRS agents, and Trump just sent them to the border. And most of them just resigned. I thought that was great. What a resolution. So this may change. And when it changes, the word esoteric becomes exoteric. And what I mean by this change is the corporation is bankrupt. The corporation is on life support. China Joe Biden may have been one of the last corporate CEOs of the corporation. And did you notice that when Trump took the oath, he did not put his hand on the Bible as the CEOs do? So that may be a symbol, a calm, that he's not going along with the corporation. And within the next 4 years, may dissolve it. And by doing so, that could mean we don't have to pay our income tax. He's already made some, alluded to the fact that he would do away with that. So I think we can all agree with that. Whether you like Trump or not, it would be great if this corporation was dissolved and we went back to the Republic, which in 1871 was when the Republic, it didn't die. It just went on the back burner. And then everything went into capital letters. Look at your birth certificate, your driver's license, that's your straw man account. I describe it in really great detail in my book, Beyond Esoteric, which is on the table right in the back of the room when we come out of here. Show you, sign some books for people. So if we can get out of this corporation, we will all live in much more abundance. You'll know it when you see it. And there is a universal law that everything that's being done to us must be revealed first. And they do tell us what they're up to, as I mentioned in the opening. Their books and publications, movies and news releases, what they're doing, this is called the revelation of the method. If you are too stupid to recognize it for what it is, then that's your problem. From their point of view, it is a form of ritually mocking the victim. So the globalists herd humanity like sheep with their false flags and perpetual wars. Hopefully that's coming to an end too, because we can see through these false flags within not just a couple days, but usually the day of or a couple hours, whereas it took most of us several years to see through 9/11. And they think we deserve it if we don't see it. That's the ritual mocking of the victim. Understandably, television and the internet has made predictive programming much easier, but was a primitive form of predictive programming done in ancient times with Plato's cave, and I would propose it has been. So washed up deceit, we might see this city turn into a museum district. Already, several government agencies are looking to move out. All a planned city that was built and constructed and designed by Freemasons. So you get this inverted, there's that word again, inverted five-pointed star. When it's upside down, it's actually symbolizes satanic. And you have the main Freemasons, these are some Civil War generals, but also George Washington, who was a Freemason, wore the bib. And when I was putting this slide together, I was following this road, Connecticut Avenue Northwest, and right up about here, you could even say it connects to the inverted pentagram, is Comet Ping Pong and Besta Pizza and all the weird stuff around there. James L. Fantis, top 100 most influential people in Washington, D.C., who ran Comet Ping Pong. How's that possible? And the 9/11 inside job. I mean, to identify 9/11 as a false flag psychological operation opens the door to understanding the deep state. How they created this narrative of the 19 hijackers. On 9/11, there was a military exercise going on that day, simulating aircraft flying and attacking the buildings. And then it actually happened. So they were even doing role playing and gaming this out in the White House. And what was her name? Condoleezza Rice says, "We never thought planes would ever get hijacked and do that." Oh, well, you were doing the planning for such a thing. I'm leaning now in the category that was actually a hologram, because I think it was Sasha that pointed out last night, or maybe it was David Wolf, aircrafts are made out of aluminum. They're very lightweight. You ever seen a bird hit a plane? It'll dent it. A light post will cut a wing off. Okay, so this thing is hitting a reinforced steel and concrete building. The only fire accelerant is jet fuel. Jet fuel burns at the same temperature as kerosene. So that would mean every one of our camping kits should be collapsing if the physics that they're telling us is right. So as I say in a lot of interviews, whenever 9/11 comes up, that heat is the true way to understand that the narrative of 9/11 makes no sense, because the heat required to melt steel girders is about 1,000 degrees hotter than jet fuel burning, right? Every single plane should be falling out of the sky because their engines are melting. If we're to believe the 9/11, they say commission report, I say omission report, which never even brings up Building 7. You got a third building. Let's see, where is it? Is it this one? Maybe that one? 72-story building at 5:15 p.m. And there was even a BBC reporter saying, oh yeah, the Solomon building just collapsed. It's still standing. And then free fall speed.
Controlled demolition.
Controlled demo. Yep. Yeah, you guys know that. So here we have the Bush crime family. Remember Sarah McLennan? She would be the great dame of the White House press corps. She was there during the time of JFK. And he mentioned to her once, George H.W. Bush, the American people ever find out what we've done, they'll chase us down the street and lynch us. So the globalists know that if the humans awaken, they're in deep shit. And we are, and they are. And these shadow forces behind the New World Order are following a slow-paced agenda. This was something I had to wrap my head around because it's multi-generational. It goes beyond their own lifetime. It goes into their kids and their grandkids, and they play into it too, just like Bush's son. And it's a slow-paced agenda of total control over mankind and all of our planet's resources, what David Icke coined the totalitarian tiptoe, because they are making very small steps towards our complete and definitive enslavement. And if we don't do something about it right now, in our lifetimes, in this generation, in the next decade, we will find ourselves locked down into these 15-minute cities, into these social credit scores, which are already happening in China, which are already rolling out in Canada, and which will make all of us restricted from travel, as well as a lot of other nightmare scenarios. And the only thing we can do is to be aware of it and don't resist. Just like Gandhi is the father of India and Martin Luther King is the father of the civil rights movement. Both of them believed in nonviolent resistance. And we're all nonviolent too. We don't want to go head to head. We don't want to be violent. But if they bring it on us, we just say no. Opt out. I'm not getting another jab. I'm not going to wear that face diaper anymore. And I'm going to defy the lockdown. We are sovereign human beings, and this is a free will planet. So the textbook explanation, if you can get an old Webster dictionary, especially pre-World War II, the definition of a coup d'etat is any successor government of that coup is illegitimate. So when they killed JFK, and I was born under Johnson, every president since then in this corporate government fiction is illegitimate. So we have been living in this fiction state. And so they're able to continue to do this. Like David Wolf said, if we let them get away with it and there is no justice and we can't bring them to justice, they're going to keep doing it because they did this and they did that. And the World Harm Organization is ready to roll out Scamdemic 2.0. It's already written on the wall. So be wary of taking health advice from people who believe the planet is overpopulated. And it's not like they haven't stated their goals in stone, which they have on the George Guidestones. Maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. Yes, their goal is to eliminate 9/10 of us. Why? Because it's so much easier to control a smaller group than an awakened mass who's showing up with pitchforks and calling for their head. David Wolf said, let's bring back the guillotine. Maybe we might have to. And so their goal is to depopulate, anti-human depopulation agenda. Their tools, chemtrails, weather modification, war, poisons in the food, junk food, GMOs, fluoride in the water, vaccines, drugs, white versus black, false flags, 5G, hunger, mainstream media, and entertainment industry right here in town.
I think you're missing one, though.
What am I missing?
Dems versus Republicans.
Dems versus President. Yeah, well, that's us versus them.
Versus white or whatever.
Yeah,
It's the same thing.
right.
It's the show, like,
Same feather.
yeah.
Genetically modified mind-altering chemicals in our food. David Wolf was just going on about foods. Hollyweird, social engineering and predictive programming. The mainstream media, distraction and perceptive management. How you perceive the world. You see, if we build the prison of their construct, we do the work for them. But if you don't go along with it, it falls apart. College, government indoctrination centers. Smartphones, 24/7 surveillance data mining and tracking device. Hello, CIA, are you hearing this talk? Big pharma sales are really representatives of big pharma. The P is silent in pharmacy. Pharmacy. I love the memes when the P goes out on a pharmacy sign and it actually just says pharmacy. Allopathic medicine is flawed science based on the germ theory. And this meme has been popping up lately with the USAID. If the government was actually transparent, this is what the halls of Congress should look like. Wearing all their sponsors like a NASCAR race driver. Then we'd know. That's who does it. Yeah, we got to get money out of politics. We got to get rid of the lobbyists and all this money because it's just corrupting. It is so corrupting. AIDS is a man-made virus. Cancer is curable. 9/11 was an inside job. The Federal Reserve owns America. Your food is full of chemicals and drugs. The history you have known has been whitewashed and altered. Vaccinations contain toxic ingredients that have been linked to autism, cancer, and death. This is all pre-COVID. Bill Gates was behind the Ebola vaccination and worldwide depopulation. Government controls the weather with HARP, also NEXRAD, and steering hurricanes. They can also make it rain or dry. Right here in LA last month. Why didn't they roll in the clouds, right?
Right.
ISIS is a creation of the USA and Israel, and the list goes on. Lies and cover-ups. One of the side effects, sudden death. Yeah, that doesn't sound too good. Nothing says trust the science quite like you can't sue us if something goes wrong.
Yeah.
We need 55 years to release the data to the public. Oh, yeah, that's safe and effective, huh? What was the real reason for the pandemic? The need for continuous boosters showed that the science is not working, but the business model sure is. And it's not just people who have gotten the COVID jab or the boosters. It's all of us. We really all need to be detoxing from a soup of chemicals that has been hit us. Everybody should start doing different detox protocols to get the heavy metals out, to get the graphene oxide, nicotine breaks down. Yep, nicotine breaks down the nanobots, glyphosate. So in my family, my brother and sister say, oh, we're gluten-free. We can't eat gluten. We'll have allergic reactions. It's actually not the gluten. It's the glyphosate that people are having an allergic reaction to. And what a shame, because we all love bread. It's such a great food. So, yeah, we got to clean our bodies. We got to clean our food up. And hopefully with RFK Jr., we're going to do just that. He's certainly bringing it to light, and they've already taken the red dye out of food. And why do they even put that in there? Right? Oh, so your pandemic was brought to you by Vatican City. Look at their 20 euro coin. Jacking that kid up. And I love this meme. Real pandemics don't require exaggerated virus models, faulty test kits, rigged results, falsified death certificates. But you know what does? Psychological operations. That's what it all was. A big psyops. They brought out the COVID to scare the shit out of us so we'd all line up to get the jab. This guy, I can't look at his face. Just all these logos and corporate stuff, they'll put it in there, including Alfa Romeo. A lizard eating a man. Look at a serpent chowing down on a human. Okay. Evil has to tell you what they want to do before they can do it, and that's called consent. Remember?
Go back one. What was that?
No, not consent. This guy, all right. Lil Nas releases shoe dedicated to Satan with a pentagram and human blood in it. Limited edition, 666 pairs. Luke 10:18. And he said to them, I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. That was on the shoe. You see that? Right there?
Oh.
Luke 10:18.
Wow.
They're telling you what they're doing. There's your inverted pentagram, too. Upside down. Nike has since said, we didn't authorize that. Yeah. Right, with their logo on it. So they need us to consent to build the prison of their making that we construct for them and put ourselves in it and give them the key. They place their evil in plain sight within movies, music, and shows, but veil it in layer upon layer of logos or entertainment. We watch, we are entertained, thus we do not resist, and therefore we consent. So when you're watching a movie, was the one that Barack and Michelle Obama just produced,
The World They Left Behind.
The World Left Behind, yeah. Dozens of very predictive programming symbology in there. If you're just watching it kind of falling asleep, you don't even realize it, but in a way you're consenting to all of that activity. So it's hard to watch this stuff, but in a way, don't watch movies anymore to be entertained, but to decode this stuff and see what they're trying to force into the masses.
They're planning, yeah.
Yeah. So the Masonic symbol features itself in Volkswagen logo, Marco Rodin's energy math, Randy Powell's vortex-based math, which I cover in my book, Future Esoteric, out on the table, the Masonic square and compass, and a seemingly knowledge of this. Something appears to be going on here. It also becomes clear that 3, 6, 9 axis is the invisible axis represented by the Masonic apron or the symbol of the Masons. And Nikola Tesla, you want to know the magnificence of 369? You have the key to the universe right there. Here's the monarch programming again. The butterfly represents sex slavery. It's right there on a Playboy foam casing for your iPhone. Many meanings of the butterfly, but when it's over a woman's mouth, it usually represents sexual abuse or prostitution, plus the fracturing altar of trauma-based mind control victims in the MK Ultra programs. So in esoteric symbolism, the butterfly is the psyche, and we know mathematically that a real butterfly can cause a typhoon around the world. So that's the chaos theory. A butterfly flaps its wings in the Amazon, creates a little ripple, which accelerates, which then becomes a hurricane. So with proper preconditions, so are the psyche. And they're playing on this subliminal advertising, below the threshold of knowledge. How many of us have watched Disney cartoons? And then these phallic symbols all over the place. Disney, yeah. Well, Nickelodeon's logo is eerily similar to the geography of Epstein Island, even with that little island out there.
No way.
Way. Told you we were going to put the intense back in intensive here.
Go back one, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead and take a shot of that. Here's the house complex. There's the temple. The dome went missing. The gold dome went missing, but I think that building's still there. This is the entrance to the underground. There's multi-levels, and there were cages, some video footage that was released of kids in cages. I mean, it gets dark, it gets deep. This is the prison planet we live on, and they pulled this over our eyes for centuries. But even in this modern time, here on Epstein Island, which was a big honey pot trap, they would blackmail people by doing so. It's said that about 90% of Congress and Senate are all blackmailed. Blackmailed, or bribed, taking big corporate donations. So of course they go along with it. And they have them on video. And Elon says he's going to release the Epstein Island list and the Diddy party list. And this is going to get interesting. But this is where it gets deep. I'm going to go kind of dark here now, and then we're going to build our way back up to the light. But once we start to recognize the sick symbolism, as a Q drop said, these people will not be able to walk the streets safely. This is called panda eyes, and it's done when raping a child. It's very traumatic. And then you get Lady Gaga ritually mocking the victims and doing panda eyes. The volleyball is frazzle drip. You might know it from Tom Hanks' movie, but it represents skinning a face off a kid. And I'm just going to leave it at that because it's so dark, it's so depressing. But this is where these people are at. This is how they think. And they get the adrenal secretions, and it's a high, it's a drug. It's an anti-aging that many of them are hooked on. Of course, they don't want us to know that, but we're all figuring it out because we're seeing through this mass media fake news lies. They do bombard us with secret messaging. And as I showed you with the Smith-Munt Modernization Act, everything they do is legal, so they can lie to you all they want. I love this billboard, Canadian Broadcasting Company, we deceive, you believe. Maybe somebody mocked that up, but it's pretty true. And there's Obama signing an NDA into law 2013. These are just some quotes from Operation Mockingbird. The history of controlling the perceptions of the American people started in 1950 with Operation Mockingbird, initiated by CIA Director Allen Dulles, in which the CIA controls the content of media information that informs our citizens up to the present day. Well, why do you think the mass media is starting to collapse? Because people don't believe it anymore. They're bought and paid for by these CIA predictive programming techniques, and they've been buying up all the media. So now just 6 corporations own over 90% of all the media news out there, as well as Hollywood and music industry. I mean, it's all of them. Comcast, Universal Pictures, Pixar, Marvel Studios, MTV, all the big ones are just in this 6 corporations controlling perception of the mainstream media. GE, News Corp, Disney, Viacom, Time Warner, and CBS. Since World War II, a plan has been worked out to manipulate the human mind through media. Here's those paperclip Nazis coming on over here, doing their mind control on the American people. Because of Mockingbird, virtually everything we hear and see in the mainstream media is a lie. They lie about spirituality, biology, freedom, ethics, health, energy, culture, history, astronomy, everything. These were the best experts in Nazi Germany in the field of mind control were brought to America. Strategy started to systematically change literally everything humanity thinks and believes. The goal was to make mankind controllable in our own minds. Tell them what they want to believe, and we'll have total control of them without them even being aware of it. The ultimate and perfect strategy to seize world control. And so they'll put a whole bunch of stuff in there. 22 Stars of Paramount, which when I was working on this presentation, I never knew that. The 22 fallen angels who bred with human women, their offspring, maybe they're still here. Scripted elections. This was from 2016. They always advertise the reality one way or another. Best when it's hidden in plain sight. The Dominion difference. Flip it around. Dominion, a word that is opposite of freedom and democracy, changing the way people vote. That's their logo. That's their motto. The actual logo is a red vote going in, going down, and coming out a blue vote. They put it right in front of our faces. There's another one of their logos. Go in red, come out blue. Yeah. They can trick us all they want, but this was too big to rig in 2024. And look at how much the media favored Hillary Clinton. 98.1. Geez, I live in Nevada. If I was a betting man, that would seem like a sure thing, wouldn't it? Look at all the endorsements she got. Trump, none. That was 2016. And also in that election, the New York Times had the audacity to declare that they had the right to call our elections. New York Times, the role of declaring the winner of a presidential election in the U.S. falls to the news media. Really? Who gave them that right? The broadcast networks and cable news outlets have been vowed to be prudent. Here's how it'll work. Yeah. Deep state mass media have advertising a false Biden is president-elect narrative, which was under the Constitution alone was a treasonous act. The Electoral College determines the U.S. presidency for the next 4 years when it meets 5 weeks after the election. Just a couple more of these logos on voting machines. The Seidel logo shows one side of a strip turned over and hidden and then re-exposed, at which point the vote on top can be changed to a different vote when exposed on the bottom. Funny how that works. Innovating democracy, yeah. Masses remain relatively unaware of the fact that their liberties are being gradually taken away while the power of this New World Order octopus grows steadily, continually throwing their logos of the phallus everywhere. I didn't know some of these when I was working on this presentation. Oh, you got to use Prime Video. It's a phallic symbol. Arby's. Wendy's. Pigtails. Okay? But this one is always there. The healthcare logo is really Baphomet's phallus. So, what does that tell you about our healthcare industry? Build Back Better, 666. They just can't help themselves. These are the magicians behind the curtains, this corporate boardroom. They know that the human consciousness co-creates reality based on what the mind believes to be true and real, like Plato's cave. This process is amplified when instilled in the collective consciousness in the masses. They are projecting what they want into your minds so that you build it for them. But we're not going to go along with that, are we? No. The three real branches of government: Big Pharma, Big Oil, Big Banks. How about the Director, Office of National Intelligence? Chemtrails? UFOs? Planes they haven't revealed yet? It's going to be an interesting next couple years. geez, the next couple of months.
Yeah.
It's like every day, what's going to happen next? Space Force to introduce our Star Trek future. Home videos to force disclosure. Project Blue Book, the fake alien invasion. Government trickle-down disclosure. I think we're starting to see that now. Occult origins to create NASA and the secret space program. I just realized I'm only about halfway through this, and I got 30 minutes ago, so I'm going to keep moving on. But just to say that Aleister Crowley, connection between Werner von Braun, another paperclip Nazi that came over to start NASA. Father of rocket technology, Jack Parsons, rocket engineer and Thelemite occultist. L. Ron Hubbard, they're out here. Show floor. Scientology. Walt Disney, cartoon film producer, Aleister Crowley, the wickedest man in the world. And extraterrestrial aliens medium. They all helped to create NASA. Never a straight answer, huh? That's what it stands for. The Masons, the Nazis, and the Magicians. NASA's occult connection. USOs, yeah, we're starting to see this more and more in UFO research. That's under unidentified submersible objects, the fast mover propulsion. That's pretty much all I do on UFOs on these slides. But I do talk about it more and write about it in my book. Future esoteric, because it is esoteric subject. It's really subject known by a select few. Globalist sees humanity and humankind as a mass of useless eaters. How is it that 23 million people viewed Carpool Karaoke and a video that explains how the Federal Reserve enslaved humanity has less than 2 million views in 5 years? Unfortunately, people aren't paying enough attention. But I think they will start now when we know that the birth certificate, when we're born, our parents register us with the government as a corporation, all caps. I have a much more detailed explanation how this is done in my book, Beyond Esoteric. I invite you to check that out after the talk here. When a child is born, they receive, and your parents sign off on a birth certificate. In a few years, your corporation, we're all corporate entities, this whole notion of a straw man, invisible corporation. You don't know you are, but you are. You will receive your taxpayer ID. What's that called? Social Security. This is so you can be used as collateral for the government to acquire debt. That's right. You and your labor, time and energy is what backs up the national debt. You are a stock. Now, there is some talk that we may receive back all the money that we put into our stock account. So someone like me who's in my late 50s, it's to the tune of $70,000, $80,000. Some of you who are older than me could receive up to $100,000. Some are younger. You've already put in, just like your Social Security, you've built in this automatic fund. And so when that comes back to us, we can all be quite wealthy. I think we've all heard of NESARA, GESARA, SARA. These are real legislations. Let's just hope they can get through there before the anti-human depopulation agenda kills us off. Yeah, your theory about the cabal trying to kill off humanity is stupid. You act like it's written in stone or something. Kaboom! There go the Georgia Guidestones. Which nobody really knows who paid for those to go up, but the county tore them down the next day after somebody put a bomb out there and blew them up. A lot of number conspiracies. Gosh, this talk could take a life of its own. A secret language of the cabal all over the world is numbers. So they code everything. They love to use Roman numeral numbers like 9/11, IXXI. False flag operations take place on significant dates. And numbers are the universal language of even extraterrestrials. Numbers are also can be put into sound, or these Sri Yantra mandala, the Om sound. How did the ancients of India know the shape of this Sri Yantra mandala would also replicate itself on these tonoscopes? And what a tonoscope is, you can put up a little bit of sand and you hit it with different frequencies and it changes all these different patterns, really beautiful patterns, including one that is the Sri Yantra mandala, which is actually thousands of years old, and it reproduces on the tonoscope.
Why is Super Bowl in Roman numerals?
That's probably one way that they like to code in numbers. Tomorrow, Super Bowl Sunday, the day of the most domestic violence in America. Yeah. My team didn't win, honey. I doubt many of us are going to see it, but it is quite a spectacle. Again, you don't go to movies anymore to be entertained, but you can go to watch the Super Bowl halftime show, and it will be filled with symbolism. You just watch and see. They can't help themselves. They love doing this kind of thing. Because we are the common enemy of humanity, according to the Club of Rome. 90% of mind control, subconscious habits. In other words, we are programmed in our subconscious with our thoughts that are not our own. Love to get into our head. Henry Kissinger, in a speech to the World Health Organization on control on eugenics, February 25th, 2009, he said, "Once the herd accepts mandatory forced vaccination, it's game over. They will accept anything, forced blood or organ donation, for the greater good. We can genetically modify children and sterilize them for the greater good. Control sheep minds and you control the herd. Vaccine makers stand to make billions, and many of you in this room today are investors. It's a big win-win. We thin out the herd, and the herd pays for us for providing extermination services. Now, what's for lunch?" Oh, Henry, good riddance. I think there's a special place for you down that zone. Illness is not what you think. Germ theory is a weapon. Germ theory is a scientifically proven lie. An illness is formed internally. This is the terrain theory. I have a whole chapter of this in Beyond Esoteric. Because in the 19th century, there was a big debate whether germ theory versus terrain theory. And this was with Louis Pasteur, who is the father of germ theory. And he said that the main cause of illness among all of us is dehydration and malnutrition. Human-made chemicals and toxins destroy the health of those with a compromised immune system. Our health is determined by what we eat, drink, think, say, and do. Germ theory has been used as a weapon to induce fear, trauma, panic, control over humanity for well over a century. Experiments have proven that humans cannot pass disease from one to the other. The Rockefellers, Rothschilds of the world indoctrinate us with nothing but deceit and lies to sell us poisonous, petroleum-based pharmaceuticals. Humanity needs to research before consenting to the abuse of our children. Dr. Andrew Kaufman. A great place to start unlearning and relearning. Let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. That's Hippocrates, who is the Hippocratic Oath. And so the germ theory was in the late 19th century. Louis Pasteur, who invented pasteurization, is also the father of the vaccine for this very reason, because he said, one disease, one cure. So it's this Band-Aid approach. You show a symptom, we're going to give you a Band-Aid to cover it up. But he had his detractors back in the day, and that was several French philosophers and doctors. One was, I'm sure his name is Bertrand, and he was so convinced that the terrain is everything that he said, I'm going to drink a glass of water with cholera. And he did. He did not get cholera because he was so strong with his immune system. Claude Bernard was his name. And so this stuck with Louis Pasteur, and it said that on his deathbed, he recanted and said, it's true, the terrain is everything. But of course, there's no money in us building our immune systems. Thus, the whole pharmaceutical industry exploded. And it's gone down a path that need not have gone. So all the naturopaths and homeopathic doctors were sidelined when the money was given by the Rockefeller Foundation to create the medical colleges and schools in the late 19th century. So for 100 years, we've been under this allopathic germ theory system of dealing with our health. Because the information that you really need to know is what they censor, and that's exactly what you need to know. So when they come down hard on naturopaths and so forth, that's probably where the truth lies. So now we're coming into a very brave new world with technology at the fore. These cell phone towers, so you can download a movie faster. Yeah. Hidden along the roadside and those trees, you guys seen them? They even do palm trees with all the towers in them. Cell phones are the new scrying glass. Scrying glass was developed by John Dee during Elizabeth's time. See how it's a black glass? Originally it was obsidian that was polished. John Dee also did the crystal ball. This is during the time of Shakespeare. He was the original 007. And I saw Max Egan at a conference once. He was one that said that cell phones are the new scrying glass. This is where the spirit world can come through and how we're always looking at it and keeps us entertained and informed. The yellow cube technology that feature on the cover of my book, Beyond Esoteric. We're looking at mind-blowing technology in our lifetimes to the point where they're going to try to implant us, the Neuralink, no thanks, with 5G implants, oh gosh, these microwave towers, and then of course geoengineering. Geoengineering is totally legal. You see those lines in the sky, they even have laws that basically put it right out there. These laws were passed in 97. That's about when I remember seeing the first chemtrails in the sky. The use of human subjects for testing of chemical and biological agents. And even one of those results is, even if you die or if you get sick. So, call it chembomination. Should not be in our sky. But the media will make the whole phenomenon normal. This was from a brochure from San Francisco when I lived there, talking about Sunday streets when they closed down Golden Gate Park. But they had to have a sky full of chemtrails in there. And, Mummy, did your sky look like a New World Order toxic hell on earth when you were a little girl too? Remember when we were little kids, you look up in the sky, you just see a plane go by, a little contrail. They don't linger around for hours and days and become a big chemical toxic soup. We cannot have a serious discussion about climate change without factoring in geoengineering. So forget it. It's not, it's all human cause. Yeah, sure, it's human cause, but let's also factor in this normalcy of chemicals used in, they're even putting them in old movies and stuff. Chemtrail skies. And here's what is pertinent to Los Angeles last month. They could have made it rain. They made it rain in Vietnam. I was just in Laos about a year ago along the Ho Chi Minh Trail. And you still see the big bomb craters and all the effects of the Vietnam War, because the supplies were being run down from China through Laos into Cambodia down to South Vietnam. The Americans said, we got to stop this supply chain. They tried everything in the book to shut down the Ho Chi Minh Trail. They bombed it to oblivion. Laos had more bombs dropped on it than the whole of World War II. And it's still, there are kids that'll find these little balls that explode. A lot of amputees, and every 2 weeks someone is still injured or killed by the bombs we dropped in Laos in the late 1960s, early 70s. And they made it rain. That was called Operation Popeye. From 67 to 72, they used geoengineering to try to flood the Ho Chi Minh Trail. So you're going to try to tell me we couldn't have made it rain and put out all those fires? Yeah, you could have. And there's patents to back it up. Similarly, why does Saudi Arabia and all these dry desert countries are having record floods? And they do put it right out in there. This is a screenshot I took in Santa Cruz. The next day was going to rain. The day before, chemtrails. So they will fill the sky with these nucleotide chemicals. They'll hit it with NexRad and the heart machines. They will literally steer weather systems in when they want to. Heavy chemtrail days followed by rain or weather events. Just before we had this big storm up in Northern California, heavy chemtrails. Okay, so this pertains also to the fires of LA. This was a picture taken from Paradise, California, just like Lahaina, Maui, a couple years ago. The houses that did not have smart meters, they had solar panels on, like these two here, they didn't burn. The houses around them did. And there are now videos of the smartphones, when exposed to heat, they have lithium-ion batteries, just like a Tesla car. When it catches fire, or any electric car, the fire department doesn't even try to put them out. They can't. They just try to mitigate the fire spreading. These smart meters are really dangerous. There's things you can do. You can put some coils on them, or better yet, have them removed. Pay a little bit more for your electricity, because proof's in the pudding. There was a house in Altadena last month, and the guy had a smart meter on the cottage in back, and the house in front did not have one. All the houses around him burned, the cottage burned down, but that house is still there. He was just getting his electricity off the cottage. So these smart meters, they have this, what happens is a backfeed too. So when these lithium-ion batteries get really hot, not only do they start a fire that will go through the house and burn it from the inside out. And like Paradise and like Lahaina, there's a backfeed that goes into the grid, and all the wiring in the home just lights up. That's why these homes, they're burning from the inside out, and they turn to this white ash, and they could still have trees. Trees and bushes don't burn up. Now, what wildfire does that? I think they're also using the direct energy weapons. You see the trees burning from the inside out. You see the houses with blue roofs that don't burn. And there are some countries that spray chemtrails and then others that don't. Since when has our weather become classified information? I've talked to Dane Wigington on the phone about geoengineering. He said, how big does the climate elephant in the room need to be before it can be no longer hidden in plain sight? And RFK Jr. said he wants to put an end to the chemtrail spraying. So absolutely, it's been real all this time. Once again, follow the patterns. Here we go. Same with the hurricanes hitting Florida last year. North Carolina. They can steer these hurricanes. They can park them where they want to. I know someone who survived North Carolina. She got in touch with me after she got back online. She said that hurricane moved direction 5 times over North Carolina. just kind of doing one of these, just kind of parking right there. So it would drop its whole payload. There's always a problem, reaction, solution. There's always a reason for them doing that. In the case of North Carolina, huge lithium deposits that investors have already gotten their dirty fingers into, including Kamala's husband. They have a patent for a process or apparatus to create intense artificial cloud, fogs, or mists. Now we're seeing these mystery fogs. People are getting sick. They're finding the chemicals in them. You guys, they are trying to poison and kill us. If you do not become proactive, you're going to get hurt by this, right? It's like self-defense. You have a right to defend yourself. And that's the position we need to be in, because they're coming at us, and we need to be ready for it and know what to do. And if it's one of those chem fog days, I'd stay indoors or go on a road trip. Just get out of there. I know a lot of people can't do that, but I just want you guys to be aware that they have this technology, they have the patents. Weather is now controlled. And they're using the cell phone towers now that can be used for frequency weapons or tools of mind control. How many of us have seen these cell phone towers, these new ones, these really wide ones, the 5G arrays? According to DARPA whistleblower Tom Baccio, documented that leaked from Washington State Fusion Center in 2018, cell phone towers are being used for mass electromagnetic mind control. This means that the cell towers across the country are weaponized with bioelectric resonance frequencies that can hijack the brain's thoughts, soma tensitory cortex, the visual cortex, auditory cortex, and motor control cortex, your ability to walk and move. Tapping into the brain's thought center, cell towers can remotely control a person's thoughts, memory, emotion, behavior. These are the dictator, fascist, wet dreams to have this technology. Can you imagine if Stalin or Hitler or all the terrible dictators through history had the kind of technology that we have now? You see, the game has totally changed, and this is now being thrust upon us. So,
what does that mean, the cheese sauce?
So, okay, what does it say? The cheese sauce to your broccoli, cell tower concealment. Concealments are customized, structured, engineered to cover cell phone towers on antennas and beautify them. On your way to work, school, or the grocery store, you'll likely pass by them and take a look. I think so it means they're hiding them in all these signs, church steeples, farm silos, churches, buildings, all over the place. It has become an electromagnetic soup that is very difficult to escape. I left the city for this very reason. It was giving me headaches. I could feel it. I never take a call any closer than this. Unfortunately, I've put everyone on speakerphone. If it's a private call, I just have to go into a room. These things give me a headache. They're not good. I've lost friends who have died from brain tumors, and it happened to be on the side that they would always hold the phone to their head. So again, we're not being told this stuff, but be aware. Did you know that COVID-19 is an acronym? What it really meant was Certification of Vaccination Identification, with the gematria letter A is 1 and I is 9. So what that means is it's your Vax card enforced by AI. Smart meters, smart cars, smartphones, smart cities, smart homes. The word smart refers to another acronym, self-monitoring, analysis, and reporting technology. A smart illusion of safety and convenience, but actually it's all about tricking us into digital control and surveillance. Smart nothing. Yeah, smart meters too. Forget it. So I do another talk about the lost races. We're going to pivot here. I got to finish up in 10 minutes. There are the proofs in the bones all of these old newspaper articles. Look at this one from Stockton, California. Giant men inhabit. You guys think I'm tall? Yeah, they would be through the ceiling here. 9, 10, 12 feet tall with these elongated skulls. 30% larger cranial capacity. I've seen them down in Peru with Brian Forrester, who's speaking tonight. He's talking about the lost technology. We're not being told the truth about our history, especially with these elongated skulls. It's not just been found in Peru, in this country, in the Black Sea region, in Asia.
Catalina.
Truly all over, yeah. Yep. The Channel Islands right out here. Huge stash of giants. They're 30% larger. It stands to reason that a much taller body to go along with it. The larger skulls have no frontal suture, the crack going down the middle of our skulls. They don't have that. They have much larger eye sockets, 30% larger eye sockets. You can clearly see that here, that big. And a different connection with the spinal cord, a bigger connection. Human-like, but not quite human. Same with the Star Child skull. Lloyd Pye used to travel around conferences with this skull. You tell me that's some kind of human? But what's interesting about these elongateds and the Star Child skull, and maybe Brian will talk about this tonight, is that they've done DNA sampling on it. Klaus Donna, I communicated with him via email. He did one on one of these giants he found in Ecuador. Lloyd Pye allowed the Star Child skull to have DNA. And in every case, they found that it was a female human mother, matriarchal female DNA, with an unknown father. Now that's very similar to what the Bible said about these giants who came to earth and saw that the women were fair and mated with them. So as I say in my talk on the giants, you can take a horse and a donkey and mate them. Two different species that are very similar. The offspring is called a mule, but the mule is sterile. Mule cannot reproduce and create more mule. So I reckon this is kind of what happened with these giants and these big skulls, that they were perhaps the Anunnaki or another human-like ET race that mated with human women and had a couple of one-offs. So I'm going to go through a couple more of these hidden in plain sights. City planning, how we're always living in the grid. You never really know your neighbors, but at Burning Man, everything is circle, kind of like the prehistoric circle plazas. But we live on the grid, like the Roman central planning. Aldous Huxley in Brave New World said, most men and women will grow to love their servitude and will never dream of revolution. So they keep us intoxicated, keep us watching the media, distracted in every way, which way or form, and we never realize that all the while, all we needed to do was connect. As Paula Harris said last night, researchers in the UFO field need to read each other's books so we know what each person's doing, and therefore we can get better every generation rather than distracted. Brian Forrester is going to talk about this tonight from 6 to 8, and that's the lost technology in the megaliths that can be found around the world. What do these lost polygonal buildings and technology represent? Well, it's a hidden technique that they could move 800-ton blocks, create structures like the Pyramid of Egypt. Or if you ever go down to Florida, South Florida, around Miami, in Homestead, Florida, go check out the Coral Castle, single-handedly built by a 98-pound Latvian immigrant named Edley Skellion. He moved 33-ton blocks single-handedly, and he would never tell how he did it. The only thing he would say is that he knew the secrets of how they built the Great Pyramids. But kids would spy on him. He'd always work at night, and he would use these wands. And when I took the tour, I said, hey, can we get a look at the wands in the museum? No, they're long gone. And he had this little black box, and he would use pulleys. And there's still some of these megaliths that weigh many tons that even a child could just touch, and it moves. So he had a way of balancing and building these blocks together. And in Baalbek, there are stones that are still in the quarry that are so big, there is no modern crane that can move them. So how did they move them? Well, I think it's auditive levitation that is matching the frequency of matter, and then they render those heavy blocks weightless. So I hope Brian will bring this up. In fact, we talked about it when I went down to Peru and Bolivia. He was one of the guides on our trip with Nassim Harriman, and Mauro was there, and a few other people at the conference, still all good friends, took that trip together. And he's going to talk about the machining. Many of these megaliths show saw marks, drill holes, and he's going to do a whole 2-hour talk on the technology of the ancients. And so this is how they could have done it, through auditive levitation and using frequency. Remember what Nikola Tesla said? You want to understand the mysteries of the universe. Think in terms of frequency, energy, and vibration. That's it. 432 instead of 440. Simple test, a side-by-side comparison of 432 versus 440, using 4 different containers on the bottom here, filled with colored water, set over a subwoofer. This is kind of like the tonoscope with the Sri Yantra mandala. You can hit it with different frequencies, and 440 is the clustered one. 432 gives you these beautiful patterns. That's called cymatics, and that was also Dr. Emoto out of Japan would do these studies with water. When you curse the water, oh, you terrible water, you're polluted. You'd look at it under a microscope, it'd be like this. Say, oh, I love you, water. You're giving me life. You're helping me hydrate. Under a microscope looks like that. So there's a lot we still need to know about frequency and energy and all that comes with it, including in medicine, that they say that medicine will be the future of medicine will be also energy vibration. Okay, we're getting towards the end here. More predictive programming. When you see it, you know it. They own everything. It's fake news. Operation Mockingbird, we covered that. I just think these are hilarious. Now even, not only The Simpsons, but now Mountain Dew is doing it. The hardest hitting Mountain Dew out there, called Maui Burst. And then Pitch Black. Are they predicting EMP attack or Code Red? And then their initial, of course, is DEW, direct energy weapon. Yeah, okay. Tell us about it, Mountain Dew, PepsiCo. Dystopian media. Yeah, we live somewhere stuck in the middle with you, right here, between 1984, Brave New World, Hunger Games, and Idiocracy. Human origins, kind of like what I was talking about with the giants, but now sometimes these bodies are being found, including mummified giants. They found one in Nubian Desert, that's south of Egypt. 10,600-year-old ancient skeleton. Sequencing was found that it related to Native Americans. And then the sacred sites worldwide, including the pyramids, many of which still don't know how they were all built. And there's technology that went into these that we're still playing catch up. Astronomy of Venus creates this pattern. If you watch it go around the Earth, it will go around the Earth 8 times, Venus around the sun 13 times, and traces out this pretty curve here. Military, we got NASA patches, labels, Black Knight satellite, How long have they been around? The most insidious lie is the one that exists in plain sight, according to David Icke. When I was putting this talk together a couple years ago, some people said, you got to put the flag of Russia in there because it's a white knight on a white horse slaying a dragon. From Nostradamus to Edgar Cayce, Russia was predicted to confront and clear out the corrupt cabal. I think we see what Ukraine was all about, and this is now coming true as well. How deep does this iceberg go? Well, what level are you at? I think we touched on just about all these, so you could say you're a graduate now of the hidden esoteric in plain sight. And no longer will you look at the fake food, fake people, fake medicine, fake weather, fake news, fake history, fake pandemics, fake revolution, or fake spirituality the same ever again. Because once you see it, you see through it, and hopefully you'll never forget it. So I said I would end on a positive note, and here it is. And that is us. That is really us. We are the great resist. They will own nobody, and they will be unhappy. We're not going to let them get their way, right? Because it's all of us that are going to resist. And we're not going to go along with this anymore. And we don't even have to be violent to do it. The answer to the mystics is in the heart. Your heart knows things that your mind cannot explain. And now here's the secret, a very simple secret. It is only with the heart that one can see rightly. What is essential is invisible to the eye. So keep that in mind, because the real conspiracy theory is called pronia, and that is the opposite of paranoia is pronia. That is the concept, the sneaking suspicion that the universe is out there conspiring to help you. The entire universe is conspiring to give you everything you want. Just have to open your heart and ask for it. And know thyself. There is no authority, only the belief in authority. Once we change our belief systems, we can change the world. If you can master and destroy the 13 enemies that you cannot see, egoism, arrogance, conceit, selfishness, greed, lust, intolerance, anger, lying, cheating, gossiping, and slandering, then you'll be ready to fight the enemy that you can see. So the 2 words on the Temple of Apollo at Delphi are know thyself. 2 of the most profound words of the ancient world, still very applicable today. Because, of course, you cannot destroy truth. You can wrap it up. You can put lipstick on a pig. You can do anything you want to truth, but it's a pillar that is constant in the universe. And all those things will fall away. There are many ways to disguise the truth, but it's always going to be there. So just remember, when you know thyself and you know your truth, then that's it. Okay. The truth does not require your participation to exist. Only bullshit does. Terrence McKenna. And that's right at the end of my talk. So thank you guys so very much. I really appreciate you guys coming. Thank you. And I'm going to be out at my table straight back, talking some more and signing some copies. So come on out and we'll continue this conversation.